morning or good afternoon, everybody. We got folks joining us from all across the continent, and welcome to Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. If you're joining us for the first time, and I know we've got a bunch of new faces today, then we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. Now, I know it's a really strange time to be a student in the world, and so I appreciate you so much for joining us as we continue to showcase and celebrate such amazing people and places around the globe. Now, today's been super fun, too. This is our third Arctic program in a row. We've had epic snow and ice exploration in the Arctic. We've got a cool ski expedition going to explore bowhead whales and walruses and polar bears. And we just wrapped up a minute ago, and we're going to cap it off today with a really exciting tour of narwhals. Now, I want to note, too, for all our teachers, we just put out our latest newsletter at exploringbytheseat.com. If you want to check out our entire amazing month of February, where we kick out all the men and spend the entire month showcasing incredible women in science and exploration, check that out. There's some amazing programs to come, and I hope you guys are as excited as I am. Now, before we dive in with today's speaker, a quick housekeeping note as well. We are going to have a Kahoot quiz. So if you're live with us, if you're on YouTube and you want to play along, kahoot.it, kahoot.com. I'm going to give you guys the game pin when we're done for a little bit of fun interactivity when we're done the live talk. Now, today, I'm so excited to bring in someone that I've always wanted to have on this broadcast, and that is Mike Irvine. So he is the founder of Live It Earth. If you guys haven't checked this out, it is an amazing platform where they bring science and exploration to classrooms around the world. Very familiar to you fine folks at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, but Mike does such an amazing job of sort of building a comprehensive story around the work that he's doing. Now, he is partnering with Polar Knowledge Canada for an amazing education program around narwhals, one of these most iconic, amazing Arctic animals on this planet. Everybody knows a narwhal, and so I'm excited to dive into a little bit of the science behind them, what makes them so cool, and so much more today. So I'll stop talking, and without further ado, thank you so much for joining us today, Mike. Take us away.
Thank you so much, Jesse. I really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for joining this morning and this afternoon, wherever you are in the continent. It's an absolute pleasure to be here and sharing this with you. As Jesse was mentioning, my name's Mike Irvine. I'm part of Live It Earth. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about narwhals. And in particular, we have a narwhal program that we're going to be launching coming up towards the end of March. So you have an opportunity to jump in on that program, ask us questions during our presentation live. Kind of similar like this, but yeah, we'll jump right in. All right. So as he was mentioning, we've been working with Polar Knowledge Canada to create this program, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a background of who I am. So I come from a family of divers. My grandfather, as you can see here, he was a marine engineer, and he actually worked on deep sea robotics, and in particular, one that's called the newt suit. And so you could climb into that as a person, into this robot basically, and go down to incredible depths. My father, who's on the right here, he's a scuba diver, as well as he works at Aqualung Canada and does a lot of work, especially in and around the suits and making sure a lot of the equipment and everything that everybody uses for personal diving and for commercial works really well. So basically, I got introduced to the scuba diving world pretty young and essentially wanted to become a diver from age 11. I ended up going down this path for a bit and started really noticing that there wasn't a lot of conversation points around marine life and whatnot. And we didn't see that a lot in school. So I wanted to find a way to start connecting that into classrooms. And so one of the ways that we did that, we started creating underwater dive shows. And so we'd live stream these. As you can see in the photo here, I've got this full face intercom mask so I could talk while I'm underwater. And so we would present that live back into classrooms. And in some cases, we were even doing it into IMAX theaters. So you could ask us questions in real time. You'd send us messages, instant messages, and we'd receive them, pass them down to the diver. Diver responds to you. So essentially, that kind of gave the rise and birth to what is now Live It Earth, where we cover sea to space. We essentially go to these different locations. We work with different experts in the field, and then we present that back to everybody else. So some of the experts that we've actually been working with on the Narwhal program, as you can see here, we're working with an Inuit elder by the name of Solomon. We're also working with a biologist. We're working with another biologist actually as well from the Whale Seeker. And we have our host at Live It Earth, Connell Bradwell. So let's set some context here. Basically, the Inuktitut, in the Inuktitut language, narwhals are called echolocation, which means that it's basically the one that points to the sky. And narwhal is an important part of Inuit culture and nutrition. And every spring, as the ice breaks, groups of narwhal travel to the coast to participate in narwhal hunts. And so narwhals are a valuable resource, in particular for the Inuit, for protein, for vitamins, and iron. So Inuit hunters use all parts of the narwhal, including the skin, the blubber, tusks, meat, and cartilage. Nothing is wasted. So basically, narwhals in particular, and where we normally find them, is only in the Arctic region. And so one of the things that we've also noticed about narwhals in particular, so we'll see them around like Nunavut, as you can see here in the map. So this is the northernmost part of Canada over here. And they come all the way down into the coastline spots that are basically just even off from Greenland itself. So something that's kind of interesting about narwhals is they're a mammal, they're a whale. And what's fascinating about it is that they're toothed whales. And I bet, you'd see that tusk that's coming out of it. That's actually one of its teeth. So it's typically the left tooth. And you find this mostly on males, but they have basically two teeth in their mouth. And then their left one points up and actually comes out through their head. So what you're looking at is their tooth that creates the horn. And so it's kind of fascinating too as well about the tooth is that it's something that's very sensitive. It has a lot of nerve endings on it. And basically, we're trying to really understand as much as we can about narwhals, but because they live in such a remote area, we just don't know a lot. So there's a lot of theories about the importance of their tusk and how they use it. One of the other really cool things about narwhals that are different from other whales is that they are made for the Arctic. So essentially on their back, as you can see here, they've got these blue and black and gray and white and brown speckled skin. And so really what that does is it acts as a camouflage. So as they're moving along, predators from above can't really see them because they're camouflaged in. And so they have got very small eyes on there. They've got that long spiral tusk that comes out, which is their tooth. And they've got a tiny little mouth down below. And then what's really fascinating about narwhals in particular, and what we've been learning about, is that they don't have a dorsal fin. So it's just kind of a dorsal ridge, as you can see here. But basically, they don't have a dorsal fin so that they can actually conserve their body temperature. So they can actually not, they reduce the heat in which they lose through their body. Because the waters up in the Arctic can be quite cold, especially in the middle of the winter. Awesome. So basically, some of the stuff that the narwhals are feeding on, and a part of the food web here, is that there's the halibut that they feed off of, typically off of Greenland in that area. They've also got the Arctic char and cod. They've got shrimp, squid, and even cuttlefish. And so basically, they don't really have teeth. So they have like those two little ones, but one sticks out as a horn. So what they end up doing is basically they're like a vacuum. So they get really close up to these different fish and species, and they just suck it right up and eat it. They eat it whole. And so some of the things too, I bet maybe not everybody here has ever been to the Arctic or maybe doesn't know, but in the winter in particular, it gets really dark up in the north. And so essentially there's almost no sunrise, sunset. It kind of just like maybe gets to the horizon and just holds very low. So it gets very dark for long periods of time, for months. And so basically for narwhals and a lot of other types of whales as well, they have to try to find and sense their food without seeing. And so they do this through echolocation. And so they make kind of like these noises that essentially create a sound wave vibration that goes through the water, and then it hits it kind of like a sonar, as you hear from like a submarine. It hits all these different objects and things around it, brings that back to them, and then they're able to then paint a picture in their mind of where they are and where they're going and what's in front of them. And it's also used as a way of communication. And so kind of to give you a sense of how this works is that we do measurements in sounds of frequency. So, basically it's a measurement of hertz. And what that really means is like it's 1 sound vibration per second. So most humans, we can hear frequencies up to about 20,000 hertz, which is actually pretty good. But look at how much you can see on the narwhals, 110,000 hertz they can hear up to. That's impressive. It's amazing. And so one of the things that we're also noticing, and maybe you know this too as well about other types of whales, is that you can hear large kind of like clicking noises or sometimes really high-pitched squeaks and squeals. And so essentially what we're learning about narwhals is, and similar to other whales, is that this is a form of communication. So they're able to communicate with each other as they're trying to find food, but also in terms of how we can connect with each other. Oh, I just see a question coming in here.
No, I'm just chatting with some of the teachers in the background. Mike, you're good to go, man.
Okay, perfect. Woo! So the narwhal does have predators. And so this is really interesting. And that's also why you'll find that they've got that camouflage back. So when the ice starts to really break up in certain spots, is basically there's polar bears and even walruses that are waiting for them. So if there's a little hole, a little pocket, narwhals will come up to get some air. And basically polar bears will hang back just at the edge of the ice and wait for them to surface. And that's what they'll grab them. We also notice that, and with a little bit of climate change, we're actually seeing orcas starting to move their way up, and they're also beginning to hunt narwhal. But another part of predators for narwhals are humans. So, we're doing a lot more development, and we're moving into those regions, and we are impacting them. And one of those ways is from sound wave and noise pollution in the water. So as we're kind of talking about how they communicate through clicks and tones and vibrations in the water, well, boats and drilling and other things that we're doing and other activities up in the Arctic are also creating a lot of noise, which basically is so loud that it can disrupt how narwhals are able to hear and communicate with each other as well as find their food. So narwhals are basically the unicorns of the sea. And something that was really interesting about this back, I think it was like 1600s, is that sailors, as they would come through, would hear of these stories and see these creatures. And they found that the tusks, really essentially what happened is that they sort of believed that the tusks were magical. And so they would make trades or hunt the narwhal, and they would bring these tusks back to Europe and sell them. So they'd grind it into powder sometimes, or they would make ornate carvings out of them. And essentially it was believed that if you had one of these tusks, you had magical power and ability. So kind of something we're also talking a little bit about too, just a little bit earlier there, is that these tusks are believed, and this is what's kind of going on right now. We're still trying to sort out all the information on narwhals. There's so much we don't realize yet. So we're doing some more tests, and a lot more research is taking place. But it's believed that each of those tusks are highly sensitive nerves that are all throughout it. And essentially, we're trying to figure out why. Why do they even have that? And one of the reasons is that it's believed that it can be actually a detector for temperature changes, also for salinity, which means the change in salt composition in the water. So really, as they're traveling along, and especially if it's dark, the tusks are another sort of way that they use to identify where they are. And then we also noticed too that the males might have these tusks as a way to attract the females. But something that's really interesting about this, and that's come up recently, is that it's now been documented that females also sometimes have the tusks as well. And something fascinating on that as well, because they have the 2 teeth, there is in the odd case where you'll have both teeth sticking up and out, so they'll have 2 horns instead of just the 1. One of the other things that we're thinking that narwhals have used and has been witnessed is that they use their tusk at times to stun fish. So if they're hunting a halibut, for instance, they don't skewer it because they probably wouldn't be able to eat it once it gets stuck on the horn. But they'll whack their prey with it. And then that way it'll stun them and they're able to vacuum suck them up and eat them. So we can see from some of the research that's taken place and working with Inuit communities that narwhals are very adapted to the Arctic. It's the main region in which they live. And so it's fascinating when you really look at their skin and the layers of blubber, the coloration. You're also like their ability to hold their breath for up to 25 minutes. I don't know about you. I can maybe hold my breath for like a minute. So, and also that they don't have the dorsal fin, as I was mentioning. So it's just a little bit of a ridge, but they don't really have a full fin that comes out their back. And so that way that they're not actually losing their heat. So narwhals have been very difficult to study. This is also kind of why we don't know as much about them, but we're still learning lots. But the advancement of all the technology that we've had over the last century has really helped us to begin to learn more. And so really like the main issues that we have, they are up in the Arctic, they're in remote and secluded areas. And at a lot of the times of the year, it's very difficult to access those sites, especially during the winter because it's so dark, so you can't see them. And then also because of the ice and the ice flow and movement in the Arctic. So what we've been relying on a lot more is satellites have been used tons. So they're able to actually do aerial tracking at certain times in the year. We're also putting nodes and transmitters onto narwhals when they're able to go up. We're also looking at underwater microphones so you can record how they communicate with each other and you can record their sounds. So those are called hydrophones. So just to kind of give you a sense too, everything is part of a food chain, even us. And as you can see here, basically narwhals are near to the top of the food chain, but not at the apex. And you can see all of the different species that feed off of them and also all the species that the narwhal feeds onto as well. So everything's really interconnected. So as I was kind of mentioning too, there are a lot of changes that are taking place. So narwhals are being impacted a bit as there is less ice and it is warming a little bit in different areas at times. There's a lot of changes taking place up in the Arctic. So they're very adapted to that cold climate, but as it's starting to shift, we're basically doing more research to see how they're going to adapt as the environment around them is changing as well. And so that's a major reason why there's a lot of research going on in those areas and really looking at the narwhals in particular.
And it is part of
skip that one. There we go. So some of the impacts that we are also noticing that are human impacts is that we do have a lot of increase in shipping. There's a lot more oil and gas development. And basically, marine constructions are threatening narwhals by creating significant amount of noises. So remember I was saying a little bit earlier that the way that narwhals communicate are through high-pitched noises and even lower tones through the water. So those are basically drowned out by drilling at times or just even boats going by. They make so much noise. I've actually experienced this as a scuba diver. So when I was diving on a wreck, I was actually on an underwater shipwreck. I could hear the boats going by, but they sounded like they were right over top of me. They're actually way off in the distance, probably like a few kilometers away or miles. So essentially, it's surprising how well sound travels on water and in water. And that's kind of part of the issue that we're realizing that as we're moving through these areas more and we're doing more development, we are having an impact on a lot of marine species and mammals in particular. So just these are things that we want to be aware of. You know, these are things that we want to research, we want to know so that we can make some better decisions on how we can cohabitate and exist, you know, with our environments. So some of the calls to action that you'll find in our program when we go to launch it, this is just little tidbits for you. Essentially, there's ways of getting involved with other organizations. You can actually adopt a narwhal as one of the programs that we have that's part of this as well. And there's ways that you can be a part of these conversations and helping to protect narwhals in different regions and areas. So for a lot of teachers too, if you're interested, we have lots of resources and activities that we can share with you and be happy to. So I won't go too much into that. I'll just kind of bring it back to the end here and move us into some questions. So thank you everybody so much. We are airing that program that's going to come up into March. Be happy to share the link with you, and I'll do it right in here actually. So yeah, if you have any questions, let me know, and happy to dig into them.
Fantastic. Mike, what a great program. We've got a whole whack of classes across the continent on YouTube, even more joining us live on YouTube. I'm going to make sure everyone has that link and any other resources they need to keep learning going. But what I want to do right now, before we dive in with Q&A, we're so early, we are going to have our Kahoot quiz. So I've put up the game pin for this, again, for our teachers, kahoot.it, kahoot.com. If you want to bring up that game pin, great. We'd love to have you guys take part. If you're new to Kahoot, the faster you answer, the more points you get. Now, you don't win anything, but you do win Mike and I's everlasting respect. So we hope that you'll join in. And of course, if you don't have the option for Kahoot, just play along with these questions in your class. Mike, if you want to come out of screen share too, so you can see us again, have a bit of a conversation, that's great. I know you might not be able to see everything right now, so feel free to do that. We've already got a bunch of people joining in. This is awesome. I'm going to leave that pin up for the next few seconds. And then we are going to dive in. While we're waiting for this to get underway, get those questions ready. If you're in a live class, maybe pull your class, see what question you most want to share. YouTube, we've already got a bunch coming in as well. And we are going to have a Padlet. So after this program is done, easy to get Padlet, share questions on a virtual whiteboard, and Mike will get them answered after the fact. So Mike, are you ready for our awesome Kahoot? I'm excited.
Yoo-hoo!
All right, let's do this thing. All right, getting underway. Now, some of these are single select, some of these are multi-selects. You might have to click more than one, but 3, 2, 1 for our first question. Okay. A multi-select quiz. I've been really a big fan of these today. Narwhals live in the waters of which countries? Where can we find narwhals? Canada, Russia, the US, or China? Now, it might be more than one. We've got 15 more seconds for this. A little bit slow starting with the answer. I'm thinking, we've got a Canadian program today. We got a Canadian host. We got a Canadian speaker. That might be a good option. Talked about it a bit. But what do we get for our 94 answers? So Canada, most of you got that right. Russia is an answer as well. United States, no. Narwhal's range extends to Norway and Greenland, but not out west to Alaska. And very few of you picked China there. Not in China, so good pick. Our winner is, so far, Eager Otter. Okay, Eager Otter, keep on it. Faster you answer, more points you get. Mike, question number 2. How long can narwhal tusk get? You had this explicitly in your broadcast. 2 feet, 5 feet, 10 feet, 25 feet. What do we think? 80 of you have already answered. This is great. Keep it going. Over 110. So many of you got Kahoot today. This is great. Okay. 25 feet seems, I don't know, 2 feet, short little.
That's a big tooth at that point.
That'd be a big, very, go to the dentist. 147. Most of you got it. 10 feet long. Way to go, guys. Okay. Does Eager Otter keep the lead? Eager Otter did keep the lead. That almost never happened. Way to go. Okay. Brave Mouse right behind. Number 3. How deep can narwhals dive? So we talked about how long they can hold their breath. So this is just, what do you guys think? 100 feet, 1,000 feet, 5,000 feet, or straight through the earth? Just like right down, like pull open the mantle, go across. I'm guessing that's probably not the answer, but if you do it, you have my kudos for being fun. 2 more seconds, almost over 150 of you. Okay, what's our answer? 5,000 feet. So most of you did not get this right. Narwhals have been observed going almost a mile down in those 25. Like that is astonishing to think about. I mean,
it's incredible. Yeah.
I think the deepest a person's ever been is like 400, maybe longer than that. I don't know. It's not nowhere near what a narwhal can do. Classy Cat takes her lead. Okay, final question, and then we're going to do those live questions. What's a threat facing narwhals? Now, we did cover a few of these. The big one. So there's a big threat here. Only one answer. Shipping in the Arctic. Beluga whales, just killer beluga whales. They're like tired of narwhals' fame. Humans eating them. Humans do eat them. Or tusk fights, just like, going at it. I mean, I would do that if I had a big tusk. Kind of fun. This is a big answer, and we've been getting this for a lot of our Arctic programs, so I really want to drive this point home. I had a little fun with the question, but shipping in the Arctic, we want to make sure that as we increase the traffic in the Arctic for tourism, for development, for drilling, for more, that we are mindful and cognizant of these amazing creatures, and we're doing everything we can to avoid impacting them. So, Mike, that was a lot of fun. Let's see who our winner is. And again, everlasting respect, and you can share who you are in the chat with us. We're going to head to Miss Kent's class in Round Rock to start us off with a live question in a minute. But our winner is Eager Otter. Classy Cat won. Eager Otter, number 3. Nice job staying in the podium there. Mike, let's do this thing, man. We're going to head to Round Rock. Again, our Texan class. You guys have to live up to the level of Texan enthusiasm I'm used to. Miss Kent's class, come on in and kick us off. Hi, guys.
Hi. Do narwhals travel in families?
Ooh, good question.
Do narwhals travel in families? That's a really good question. Yes. So essentially, as you saw there in one of the earlier parts, they travel between like 10 to 20 groups, and they typically move in units. It's kind of in some ways kind of similar to what I'm used to on the West Coast in Canada here with orca pods. They've basically got units that they move within, and at times they can actually mix and congregate as well.
I love the mixing and congregating. It's my very favorite thing is the different whale species will sometimes gather together. It's really unique, and there's some nature history documentaries that showcase that. So cool. You also highlighted satellites. Sorry, I have to mention this. There's a place called Cunningham Inlet. We've had a beluga program before where literally from the Google Earth satellite view, you can see the belugas from space, which is super cool. I don't know. I've never seen this for narwhals, but if there is a picture that you maybe know, maybe we'll guide people to your resources. That would be a very neat follow-up. All right. 2 classes. I know you guys are having a bit of trouble with the tech before we got started. So Madam Faye's group, so joining us in Sudbury today. If you are available, if you want to unmute your mic, hello, kindergartners. Hi. Hello. Do you have a question for us about the
Can I ask a question?
Yeah. Hi.
Is I mean, how many babies do narwhals
How many
have?
babies do they have? Great question.
Ooh, that is a very good question. I don't know that actually off the top of my head. But you know what? If you join our program in March, I bet you we'll cover it.
A great plug for that program. I'm looking at it up as we speak. So 1 baby every 3 years, which is very unusual. So they don't procreate that much. They're one of those animals that have very few offspring and make sure that they live a long and healthy life. Sort of like elephants do that too. A lot of our bigger mammals, humans are a sort of animal that does, a few babies sort of infrequent intervals. So great question, guys.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mr. Smith's class joining us in Oakville today. Welcome in 5-6s. If you want to unmute your mic, come on in. And then our other classes too. Everyone can keep their mic unmuted. It'll make Q&A go much faster. Oh, Mr. Smith. Oh, looks like we're going to another period maybe. That's okay. We'll come to Miss Cottrell's class in Central New York. Welcome in, Miss Cottrell. Unmute your mic and come on in. Hey.
So why did you choose to research narwhals?
Good question. So basically, it was through one of my teammates was fascinated with narwhals and really wanted to do a story on narwhals. So we started doing some research and looking at who are the different researchers and different organizations that are involved in narwhal research. And that's kind of what kicked us off. And we talked to Polar Knowledge Canada, as we mentioned earlier, and they connected us in with a lot of different groups. And we even got to meet Solomon, an Inuit elder from Iqaluit. And he then kind of introduced us as well to the indigenous perspective of, how narwhals are engaged and interact with his community. So it was really through just our own personal interest, and then we pursued it. In some cases, too, we actually have teachers that ask us what kind of, or they pose questions and ideas of different stories we could cover. And so we even look at those.
Yeah. So, hey, if you guys get the chance, if you're keen, check out Live at Earth. Again, we're going to make sure people have that, www.liveat.earth. Very easy to check out all the resources they have. But if you guys are keen on programs, reach out to Mike, and then maybe you'll get a cool program in the future based on what you guys are keen on. I want to highlight, too, you started your talk. I want to harp on this with the fact that scuba diving has just been a big part of your history. And I want to stress our classes today, everyone, when you're done this broadcast, should check out the PADI Bubble Maker course. When you are 8 years old, you can start on the path to being a scuba diver, which means that 70% of the world is open up to you that was never opened up before. It's like magic that you can breathe underwater. And so I really encourage people to check that out. It's such an amazing way of exploring, and you can end up like Mike and some of the amazing people he's featured today. All right, let's head to our folks. We had a group that couldn't stay in on StreamYard with us. They're joining us in Freehold, New Jersey. So Miss Kelly's class and Miss Lackey's class, they want to know, do their tusks grow as they get bigger or fall out when they get to a certain age?
Ooh, good question. They definitely, they're constantly growing as they develop and get older. I don't think I'm going to have to do a little bit more on this, but I'm pretty sure they don't fall out naturally as they age. So yeah, it's something that just keeps going up and up and up and up and up. And then they get to a certain size by the end of their life.
Yeah, very cool question, guys. Yeah. All right, Ms. Van Oyen's class joining us in Kelowna. We got literally, it's coast to coast.
It's probably a hard thing to actually have come loose anyways when it's coming out of your head.
Hey, Kelowna, welcome in.
Okay, go ahead, Rosemary. Go ahead. Take your mask off and ask your question. Go.
Do they use the horns to try to trick people into thinking that that unicorns are real?
Ooh, I like it.
Ooh, so it's largely believed that the idea of unicorns actually came from narwhals, and there's actually a funny little meme about this too. That basically unicorns lost a poker game to the narwhals and had to give them their horns.
Rats, and then they just became horses. How sad. Great question, guys. Let's head to Miss Meltley's class, San Jose, California. We're just going down the Pacific Coast from our folks in BC. Unmute your mic, Miss Meltley, and we'll bring you in. Hi. Welcome in, California.
Hi.
Hi. Do you have a question?
Question. Yes. Come. Wait. Whoa. Come on. Go ahead. Ask your question.
Hi.
We're getting there.
Unicorn. There's a unicorn shirt. I love it.
Woohoo!
It's actually a dress.
Oh yeah. I've got a unicorn on mine.
Nice. All right. What's your question, guys?
How many species of narwhals are there? And I also have a question.
Oh yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Well, how can female narwhals give birth to baby narwhals?
Where do they give birth?
Yeah.
Where do they give birth? Definitely. So with a lot of mammals, essentially they carry the baby with them. They get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then when they get to a large enough size, they then push them out while they're actually swimming in the water. And then they help nudge them up to get to the surface so that it can breathe.
And our first question, Mike?
And then the first question on, are there different species of narwhals? So there are narwhals, and then there's different other types of marine mammals that exist, but there's really just the narwhals themselves. They don't have other cousins in that other than other mammals, other whales. So you can connect them to orcas, belugas. There's lots of other different types of whales.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure belugas are their closest relative. I could be wrong on that, but I'll check that as we go through the broadcast. Let's head to YouTube for a few, and then we'll do another live round of questions. We're ripping through these, guys. This is great. So Mr. Coster's class wants to know, what is the narwhal's biggest enemy, Mike? What do we think?
Ooh, what is the narwhal's biggest enemy? Well, I think we covered that in the Kahoot game. Definitely the noise that we create as humans is actually the biggest enemy. So technically, the biggest predator is us. And it's not that we're feeding on them necessarily. It's just that we're disrupting their way of life. So we're trying to find ways that we can reduce and limit our impacts on those areas and support them so that they can also live with us, coexist.
Something we've been sharing with all our Arctic programs today, although I do want to stress, just because I find it so cool for belugas and narwhals, polar bears have been observed eating narwhals. So like a polar bear eating a whale, pulling it out of the water is just one of the craziest things that can happen in all of nature. I encourage people to look that up if you're not squeamish, because it's pretty wild to see.
Polar bears are incredibly powerful. And because they're just completely white, they can just hang out there, and whales and other species will just pop up through those little breathing holes that they find in the ice. And the polar bear will just literally one big paw, boom, grab it, pull it all the way out.
These
are big mammals.
we can nerd out all day, Mike, on polar bears and more. Here, let's head to a couple more YouTube ones, and then Miss Kent, I'm coming back to you guys. Miss Duncan wants to know, were narwhals around when dinosaurs were?
Ooh, I don't believe they were. No.
No, and in fact, we know whale evolution really, really well. So whales as a group, we start seeing the development of them about 55 million years ago, so 10 million years after dinosaurs. And the closest thing to whales, ironically and interestingly enough, dog-like creatures were the origins of whales. We actually have a really great fossil record of how whales turned from these like land predators to sort of swimming big paw predators in the water, lost the paws, and became these apex predators in the ocean. So quite a bit after dinosaurs. Very, very cool evolution. Everybody should check that out when they're done.
That's awesome. Yeah. We're actually doing a dino program next month.
Hey,
so
how about that?
I might even have that in as a fun point.
Let me know. We'll send you some cool people. Miss Nagel's group joining us from the Guelph-ish area. They've just been joining us all day, Miss Nagel. So, are narwhals somewhat like dolphins in their intelligence or other things? So Leah wants to know, what about narwhals? Are they smart? Are they not smart? Or what's going on?
Oh, I definitely say they're intelligent creatures. There's still so much we're learning about them. We're really trying to best understand, how do they communicate? And the fact that they, their tusks and their tooth has all the nerve endings, and there's different ways in which they've been using that and observed using that in their environment. We're really just scratching the surface of understanding how intelligent these creatures are.
Yeah, I love when we get intelligence questions, so thank you guys so much for that. Miss Kent, we're going to let you guys go. I know you have to head out for the day in Texas, but welcome in. Thank you so much for joining. And a note for your class and any others too. We are going to have a Padlet after today's program, so if you do have more questions that don't get answered live, an opportunity to share more after the fact. But let's head to Sudbury, our kindergartners, Madam Bay's class. If you guys have another one for us, just unmute your mic and come on in. Hey, guys. And then Miss Cottrell, we're coming to you next. Hi, Miss Bay. Hi.
Hey,
They jump out of the water.
Do they jump out of the water, Mike?
Yes, they do. They have been observed definitely jumping out of the water, much like other whales as well. It's really fascinating when you watch them with their tusks as they're coming out too, and they're just waving it around like crazy.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Great question, guys. Simple one. I like that. Thank you guys so much in Sudbury. Now, Freehold, you guys are back in. You got your tech working again. So, Miss Lackey, Miss Kelly, unmute your mic. We'll come to you first. Hey. Come on up. Hi. One kid wave. That's good. Oh, your mic isn't working. You're in, and it should be working, but it's not. Okay, play around with it, and then type the question in the chat. In worst case scenario, we'll take it that way. But hi, and welcome in, guys. Sorry for the trouble. Miss Cottrell's group, to New York we go. Hello.
So how fast can narwhals swim?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know that one off the top of my head, but I'm going to see if I can find that out, and I'll type it in here for you.
Yeah, Uncle Google is the best for this.
Yeah, that's exactly, yeah.
I'm looking this up as we speak. I can't find it just yet, so Mike, feel free to just hang around with questions, and I'll search that as we're getting our next one coming in. But good to keep us on our toes, guys.
Actually, I got it. I've got it. I love Google for this too. See, there's so much we keep learning as we go. 6.5 kilometers per hour.
That's more than I would have expected. That's interesting. You can run. So Usain Bolt full sprint is like 23 kilometers per hour. Yeah. So the whale's like way behind. He's like waving as he's getting his gold medal. Good to know.
But then again, they also go further distances.
They do much further. Usain's like he's done at the 500 meter mark. Let's head. Okay, so Miss Kelly, Miss Lackey, I'll bring you guys in to say hi. I'm sorry the mic's not working, but when the babies get older, do they stay with their young or do they go off on their own? So that's really interesting. Like, do the family groups stay together or do they split off? Certain groups do this in the animal kingdom, which is really neat.
Definitely. Well, it has been observed too that they typically will stay together for quite a while, but then there are cases where they do branch and other pods are created.
Yeah, I was looking this up before the broadcast too. So like pods of 15 to 20 seems to be pretty standard, but they've been observed in groups of hundreds, if not thousands, by indigenous communities in the Arctic. And so a lot of marine mammals, you'll get this with sort of super pods. They'll all come together for
they'll all merge. Yeah,
for like a huge food source. Just like if like the local restaurant like opens up and it's like buffet day, people will just like walk there in droves. Same with whales and other marine mammals in the ocean. So
and it's funny too because it's never consistent. So it happens at certain periods of time. We don't always know why. We're like, why did they all converge and join up together?
So cool. You know what? It has nothing to do with the Arctic whatsoever, but I want everyone to check out this when they're done. I'm going to put this up on the screen. The Great Sardine Run off the east coast of Southern Africa is one of the most amazing natural events in the world. It happens every year, and it's the biggest agglomeration of predators on this planet. If you look this up on YouTube, it will blow your mind in terms of a bunch of animals getting together. So if you check that out. All right. One more question. Time flies when you're having fun, people. Let's head back to Kelowna. Unmute your mic, and you're good to go. There's Van Oyen's class. Hi.
How many narwhals are there in the world?
Ooh.
I'm going to be able to tell you that in 1 second. So it was recently just updated, and I think we're still actually trying to count how many there are because it's hard to track.
It is, right?
We have a better sense of belugas than we do of narwhals.
Narwhals are really, like, I remember up until the last 5-6 years, there wasn't much research on narwhals that was out there.
Yeah.
You know, way more about belugas. And in fact, whales in general are elusive animals. We don't know where blue whales breed. The biggest animal ever to exist on this planet, we don't know where they go to breed. So when you're tracking something that can dive for, half an hour or hours in some cases, especially something like a narwhal that lives in a really remote region of the world, it's hard to understand this. We do know that they're near threatened, so they're not endangered like some of the species that are really in trouble. They're not least concerned, so we should be worried about them. We should be monitoring them, making sure we don't cause them any danger. But their populations appear to be pretty good based on everything that we know so far. So, cool work, guys. Mike, this has been so much fun. We are unfortunately near the end of the broadcast. So what I want to do is, again, check out Live at Earth, everybody. When you're done this program, if you want to see the Narwhal program in all its glory, check out some of those videos we teased and showcased a little of. That's the way to do it. And if you want to share more questions after this broadcast, if you guys want to get a Padlet, / our initials / Narwhal, Mike and I will be checking that out over the next couple of days.
Well, I'll just, if I can, I'll post right in the comment section here. This is a free program that we're going to offer out. So if you can join us, that would be amazing.
Cool.
Just post it in there again. So it's in the chat box. Please join us if you can. It'd be amazing.
I just put that on our YouTube folks as well. So if anyone wants to check that out at some of our other registered groups, you have that option. Mike, before we wrap up by bringing in our class to say thanks and farewell, is there a final message about Live It, about narwhals, anything you guys want to do that we should share?
Well, basically, we're really just we're just wanting to share as many awesome stories as there are about the world that's around us. So at Live at Earth, that's a big part of what we do. We've got a nature Netflix sort of library, lots of different programs and activities. We create lots of resources for teachers and for kids, art challenges, science experiments, you name it. And it's all around a story. So we'd love to be able to share that with everybody here. Check us out on our site if you'd like to join. Our next we actually just finished a space program on Mars, but our next program is going to be on dinosaurs. So that's coming up this month.
Awesome. Well, I certainly can't wait myself. We'd love to have you back anytime to talk more about that. And Mike, this has been such a pleasure. So as you may know, what we do to end every broadcast, I'm going to bring in all our teacher friends to say a big thank you and farewell. So Madam Faye, Miss Cottrell, Miss Van Oyen, Miss Lackner, if you guys want to join me, say